middle height, casually dressed in blue jeans and an unusual woven jacket, a slender yet female body that once would have aroused him, and even now interested him, red gold hair in a long French braid down her back, triangular face with eyes as cool and measuring as a cat's. The papers in his hand told him that she was in her early 30s. Her face looked younger, though her oddly colored eyes held an unflinching power that belonged to an empress twice her age. Lisbeth Serena Charters had had eyes like that. Violet blue, wide set, fascinating, unnerving. Hingham cleared his throat again. "You were never under serious suspicion, Ms. Charters. As the detective explained, it was simply routine to ascertain your whereabouts the night your grandmother died, especially as you were her sole surviving heir." The detective explained. It didn't change how I felt. "Yes, well, it must have been very difficult for you." "It still is. Even though G-Mom and I weren't close, she was the only family I had." And every day, Serena asked herself if she and her grandmother had been closer, would her grandmother still be alive? There was no answer. There never would be. Abruptly, her hand moved in an impatient gesture. "Let's get this over with. I have work to do." "Work?" Hingham glanced at the papers in his hand. "I understood that you were self-employed." "Exactly. No time off for good behavior. My employer is a bitch." A ghostly smile rearranged the wrinkles on the lawyer's face. "Would she mind if you took time for coffee?" Serena smiled despite her unhappiness with the law, the legal profession, and the bureaucracy of the state of California. "Thanks, but I really should get back to Leucadia before the freeways turn into parking lots." "Then if you'll be seated." Despite the restlessness crackling along her nerves, Serena went to the wing chair that waited beside Hingham's desk. Outwardly calm, she forced herself to sit quietly. She had spent a lot of her life masking the energy and intelligence that poured through her with such force. They made other people nervous. Deliberately, she leaned back into the chair, crossed her legs, and waited for the old lawyer to tell her what she already knew. Her grandmother had no worldly goods worth mentioning. Hingham's chair creaked sharply as he sat. "I take it you don't need all the ruffles and flourishes." "Correct." He nodded and shifted papers. "Your inheritance is what remains of the house and 5 acres it sits on. There are no liens nor outstanding debts." He handed a plat map and deed across the desk to Serena. "The taxes have been paid through last year. I filed for a reappraisal due to the fire." He handed over more papers. "There are no utility bills, because there are no utilities. Lisbeth, Mrs. Charters, was self-sufficient to the last." If Hingham thought it strange that his client was Ellis Weaver on the publicly filed deed and Lisbeth Charters in her very private life, he said nothing. So long as a person didn't take a second name in order to conceal illegal actions, multiple names were quite legal. As Serena took the papers, she gritted her teeth against emotions that owed as much to anger as to sorrow. Lisbeth Charters hadn't deserved a violent death. "I recommend that you request another appraisal on the land itself," Hingham added. "The assessor is greedy." Serena tried to care. She couldn't. Not now. Not when she was holding the sum total of her grandmother's life. A handful of official papers that added up to less than Serena received for weaving the kind of textile that gallery owners called important. But the papers, like the galleries, left out so much.